2-1-1-0.
This is AENN, American Exceptionalism News Network.
These other two people are Cloward and Piven. Andrew Cloward and Francis Fox Piven, they developed a strategy called the Cloward and Piven strategy. And with Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals and Cloward and Piven strategy, the Cloward and Piven strategy is, where you overthrow or you overload the system. You overload a government system and you force it to collapse or comply with your demands. Does that make sense? Now, I'll give you a classic example of overloading the system. The president and his minions in the last legislative year in all 50 states flooded the state legislatures with new and proposed laws. Did you know that? And that was by design. But Rule 7 applies. They're stuck on 7. And they have a problem because a lot of the legislators have just pushed it all aside because they've realized something. They've realized that with another big Cloward and Piven strategy called the Affordable Care Act, get it? It doesn't even matter what you're flooding it with. It doesn't have to make sense. So affordable care, you can read it when we've passed it. Thank you very much, 3,000 pages. And it doesn't mean diddly-do. It means one thing for this country, the destruction of our country, economically. Are you kind of getting the drift on that? That's Cloward and Piven. Another one is Common Core, race to the top. What happened with race to the top? Where'd that come from? Okay, being a school administrator, having worked with many, many years with state standards and district and school standards for education. I've written standards. I'm so sick of writing standards. I'm so sick of it. I mean, because you have to update them and all that stuff. Now listen, I believe in high standards. And when Common Core came about, when Race to the Top came about, and they wanted Common Core, California had the highest standards going. We just weren't funding anything. But what happened with Race to the Top? We were supposed to reauthorize a law in the Congress, and that law was Nickleby. That's called No Child Left Behind. That's part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We didn't authorize that in the 80s. It was supposed to have been reauthorized in 2008. Well, here's the problem. President Barack Hussein Obama doesn't play well in the sandbox when it comes to Congress, does he? So they come up with a better plan than the reauthorization of Nickleby, No Child Left Behind. And it's called Race to the Top. How can you argue with that, right? It becomes a sales pitch. Any school people here in the room? Administrators, teachers? Okay. It became a hustle. It's never been authorized. It's never been legalized in the Congress. Therefore, congressionally and constitutionally, it's not viable, Race to the Top. But what they did was this. State of California, you guys have a lot of money issues. And we have some money over here through TARP. There's a member running for governor right now who knows all about TARP. You know who I'm talking about? He handled TARP, and just recently he came out with his people and criticized the Tea Party through a member of Congress called, his name is Darrell Issa. I'm talking about Neil Kashkari. Neil Kashkari headed TARP. He was one to be able to pick and choose the winners. And states got the option through Obama to sign up for a grant program. Come on down, suckers. And this is what you get when you sign up for the grant program. California, you want $750 million. All you need to do is this. Go ahead and sign on the dotted line. Get your assembly and your Senate together and give them the information we're giving you, which allows us to take over your state's rights for public education. Pass the law, and then we'll give you the money. So Schwarzenegger signed it into law and gave it to Jerry Brown. My understanding, Jerry Brown and Obama don't play well in any sandbox, by the way. And no one's really buying into Race to the Top. It's kind of saving California in a lot of ways. But this is what happened. Remember Clive and Bundy? Sign here. And Bundy said no. Now what are the states doing when they realize Common Core is here, which is an absolute one thing for Common Core? It's here to indoctrinate our kids and to destroy the families, to destroy this country. That's what it's here for. That's what the plan calls for. It's not working too well, is it? Because this is what's happened. I hate, we Americans, God, we just get in the way. This is what happens, is people like Orly Tates and Lance Utzumi, who wrote the book, Stopping the Federalization of Public Schools, and myself, actually, and a few others, we realized early on what this was. It was a federal grab for power. So I went on the radio right away. Lance Utzumi, Orleen Corley, I'm sure you've had her before, Eagle Forum. All of a sudden, Phyllis Schlafly, a lot of people got in conservative circles, and there's just been this absolute grass fire all across this country to stop Common Core. And it's working. States are bailing on it because they realize how bad it truly is. That's the First Amendment at work. And don't you hate it when that happens?